So this day, I guess, is 100 years in the making. School opened on this site 2 versions ago in 1925, so the fall of 1925. So we had this fall kind of circled on the calendar for, can we run an event where we can say to our community, 1, happy birthday, thanks for allowing us to serve this community for 100 years, and 2, the school is new. It's a building that a lot of people maybe haven't been in since it was opened in 2019. And so we really wanted to bring people back in, say thank you so much for building us this beautiful school, and then happy birthday to the community. So we've got memorabilia from across the 100 years, actually from before, because for example, this site was the site of the 1920 National Championship high school football game. So Everett won the national championship here in 1920. So, and then they built the school in 1925. We've got version 1 down here. We've got version 2, 1981 is upstairs. And then you kind of get more modern, I guess, as you go around the building, and we're celebrating this current building, which opened in 2019 over in the Commons area. It's humbling, right? It helps connect me in a lot of ways to this deep history and deep love that Everett has for its students, its families, for the pride of who Everett is as a community. It's amazing to meet people. One of the first individuals I met she went here in 1964, right? She hasn't been in the school since 1964. She wanted to come back and see the school. That's the kind of love that this community has for its public schools. And so it's humbling, but it's also connecting at the same way. So that is a tea set from PTA meetings back in the 1930s, right? I'd love to say that we still serve tea at our PTA meetings on china that looks like that. Unfortunately, we don't, but you know, it's a connection. Like back then, strong parent community in support of their students. Today, strong parent community in support of their students. The one that gets them is the fact that Everett won the national championship in 1920 on this site. And then like our student athletes will look at these, you know, football and baseball and basketball pictures and kind of try to compare themselves, like, could we beat this team? Which is that, you know, this team is 80 years old in terms of how long ago they played at this school. And so there's a connection, I think, when they see people as they were as teenagers, they have a hard time maybe connecting with how old is that person today? But it connects them with the history of the school and the history of our community. One, I think it honors, and I think it's really important for us to say thank you to everybody that went before us, the people that spent countless hours in their classrooms preparing for kids, or like I said, the PTA that spent evenings here supporting their school. So I think it's really important that we say thank you. And then 2, I think it's really important for our students to connect with people who have gone on past the age of 13, right? They see themselves as they are as 13-year-olds, but then meeting somebody who did security for US Bank, all of the Western regional branches. And one of our students was having a conversation with her about what does that even mean, and seeing themselves perhaps in the future as to what they're going to be. That's why we have the Legacy Project upstairs, where we want people to pause and say, I went to this school, this is what I did with my life, or I'm doing with my life, and here's my best advice for you as a student today. Good example, person that I just was speaking with, I actually had a chance to work with him in one of the former schools where I was principal, and moved to this area, stayed in this area, has a deep love for the school, brought his student IDs from back when he was attending school, and has now lives in this area, resides, and works also as an educator, right? And so there's a love for staying in Everett and supporting the community and doing the same things that adults did for them 20, 30 years ago. So 2 years ago, the jersey was returned to us by the grandson-in-law, right? So married the granddaughter of, and he had found this jersey from the 1930s, 40s, and wanted to make sure that it was returned to the school, and knew that we were coming up on the 100. And so he brings it into my office and says, I'm returning this on behalf of my grandfather-in-law. He wants you to waive his fines, right? And so we joked about it, saying, well, there's probably interest, but it's neat that they would connect back and say, this is important to the history of the school, and the school should have it. So that's been one of the many lessons that we've talked about as a school, to say, what was life like in 1925, 1965, 1985, and think about the things that we have today, that we're trying to prepare students for their futures. In 1985, you couldn't imagine AI and some of these other things that we're now engaged with every single day. And so it's an important piece to say, we have to prepare you for a world that's unknown. And so the school has served really well across 100 years, but we're preparing kids for the next 100 years, which is an important thing for us to think flexibly about.